Today we're going to be talking about the Primal shotgun. This is the shotgun from the Primal set. I know, it's shocking. It's actually a pretty good single target damage shotgun. It's not the absolute best in the game. I'll link my best shotguns video down below if you guys want to see all the other options. Of course, that video was recorded before this weapon came out, but it is a solid B tier shotgun. This weapon has really good accuracy, not as much range as you'd expect, but that accuracy gives you a lot of control over where your shots go. You can aim for the head and try to make the most out of this weapon. It's actually kind of a nature black drum. If you guys have seen my black drum video, I'll link that down below. It's a wider spread shotgun that's physical and fire, and of course it has all the black metal 6 perks, and it's a very different stat weapon. It's not exactly the same as a Primal shotgun, but it feels and looks very similar. The shotgun, the Primal shotgun we're talking about today is a lot more accurate, of course, and it doesn't have those 6 perks, but it does actually illuminate pretty fast. All right, it's not wildly impressive, and being locked to nature does make it really tricky to use if you're not in an element that favors nature, but it'll do a good job nonetheless, and there are a few different ways that you might want to run it. So let's get into the perks for this. As of now, they are locked to nature. I want to say that again because in the future that might change. Frayed made an ambiguous post on Reddit. He's our community manager for Fortnite Save the World, alluding to the idea that they might change the perks in these weapons in the future. Who knows? I'm going to talk about it like it's universal for this video, but right now it's locked to nature. Hopefully that changes. So the standard perks that I typically recommend is just crit build with reload, damage to miss monsters, and this is pretty much the only perk. We'll talk about all of that. Starting with the crit build. I hate running crit builds on shotguns like this, okay? On the Huskbuster, Ground Pounder, my two favorite boys, it's perfectly fine because they're semi-autos, you're pumping out a lot of ammo. But on a weapon like this, if you don't crit, clunk, 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 and you don't crit any of those times, it sucks. You basically have to use Totally Rockin' Out. A build I'd recommend for that is this build right here. Buckshot Raptor in the lead just to maximize the crits, Totally Rockin' Out to maximize the crits, and then you've got Subwoofers to activate the crits, Battle Beat to keep them going, Shell Shock for the extra damage. Then down here you can pretty much do whatever you want. Lock to Reloaded is nice, Unearthly Treat is nice, and then of course an alternate that I'll be suggesting later on is Chaos Agent to reload with your abilities. We'll get to Chaos Agent in a little bit here, but that build will give you a high chance to crit and a big crit damage with it, and that'll make this standard loadout very powerful. However, there are a few other ways to run it. For example, you could do double crit damage on this if you're running that build. It's not super recommended. You will absolutely need Totally Rockin' Out to be active to be useful, but it's a fun way to go if you want to do it. And then of course you can actually run something kind of insane. I actually showed this in the first look of my Primal shotgun video. I'll link that down below. I didn't get good gameplay because at the time these weapons came out, nature only released in a fire season. So we had to run in a deliver the bomb mission, and I could not find water enemies to save my life, and I don't have unlimited time to record my videos. So that video didn't show it as well, but I promise you, double crit damage, double damage to miss monsters is an insanely powerful build. You will have a slow reload. You'll pretty much need Chaos Agent. That's where I mentioned he would come in. It's not super practical, but if you want big damage and a fun way to play, double crit damage, double damage to miss monsters and bosses, actually pretty strong. You'll be hitting like a truck at that point. That's essentially 4 damage perks on top of the 6 perk, giving you a 30% damage bonus to brand new targets. It's really good. Now, I typically recommend the reload because you have a 3-second reload time with this weapon. 2.1 seconds is already pretty bad even with the reload perk, so like Chaos Agent might be a consideration either way. If you don't want it, you can always add in that second miss monsters and bosses with a regular crit rating crit damage build. That'd be pretty standard, pretty good way to go. And then that's kind of it. I mean, you can run double headshot damage on this, similar to how I suggested with the Primal pistol. Like I said, the accuracy on this weapon is really good. You can aim for the head pretty precisely as far as shotguns go, and if your accuracy is decent, you can get away with double headshot damage. That's not going to help you in a pinch. You might, you know, freak out a little bit. Even I think I have pretty good aim. We'll freak out sometimes when a bunch of enemies are on you. Sometimes you just can't get the angle. I hesitate to suggest headshot damage because it's just really hard to guarantee it. So the crit build is kind of where I stay. Again, though, you're going to require Totally Rockin' Out to keep that active. Normally, I use these weapons with like Blast from the Past. I think there's a really standard way to go, but it's just not going to work in that configuration. Now, as for the 5th perk, you pretty much only have one option. Now, you will stun and stagger enemies a lot with this weapon, but when they're already on the ground, you don't want your damage to start kicking in then. I think it's a lot safer, more consistent to just have the miss monsters and bosses bonus active right away. You're not going to be snaring enemies with this, and you're not going to be afflicting them either, so those 2 perks are basically dead. Now, the 5th perks were easy. The 6 perks are where we really have something to talk about. Now, the extra damage above 85%, in my opinion, is the only way to run this weapon if you're just using using this weapon. That's a great bonus. It's basically like preemptive strike built into your weapon, which is actually pretty decent, not to mention that wonderful bonus of keeping the wildlife away from you. But the other options give you some variety. So very similar to the Jack's Revenge in Corsair, with these 6 perks, by killing a Mist monster or 5 enemies, you can activate a Frenzy, which gives you a 25% bonus attack speed to you and the animals around you. Now, animals are pretty not great. You can only tame one at a time as of recording this, and that's not enough because they're not that strong. So this is essentially just a melee bonus speed. Hey, it's Editing Beast coming in here to explain the Frenzy perk in a way that was not understood when this video was recorded, which is why this video is delayed by over a week. So, when you activate the Frenzy 6 perk, I had to talk to Epic to figure this out. This is what's supposed to happen. When you activate Frenzy via eliminating 5 enemies or killing a Mist monster, you and your tamed pet get a 25% movement speed bonus. That is a functional perk. That works. Anybody who's activated Frenzy has known that you run faster. That's great. What's also supposed to happen is a little bit more ambiguous. It increases your attack speed by an unknown amount for 12 seconds. That attack speed is also meant to increase your fire rate. From what I can tell in-game, your fire rate of your weapon does not increase from Frenzy. I believe this to be a bug, and it might increase your attack speed. However, the Frenzy 6 perk deactivates as soon as you switch your weapon, which is not intended. Again, I had to talk to Freight Train, our community manager, who asked QA testers and then developers of the game to figure out what is meant to be going on with this perk, and that's what's meant to happen. So, the rest of this video is going to be talking about perks where you might be switching to a melee, because I believe that to be how this is supposed to function in the future. As of this video's release, it does not work, but in a future update, it should. So, that also gives me new recommendations on these perks, because I'm pretty set on the 30% damage being kind of the better 6 perk of the two. But if you're increasing your fire rate of your weapons, it's actually a really good perk to have Frenzy on there. So if that does work in a future update, you might want to consider Frenzy. You might be saving a Corey perk in that way. However, the 30% damage is a lot more consistent, so you can kind of go either way in the future. But as of now, Frenzy is so bugged that I can't really recommend it on release. Now, this is very similar to the Jack's Revenge and the Corsair, because these weapons have a very similar synergy, where if you look at the 6 perks on this, you can see that on headshot eliminations, it'll boost the crit chance of your swords for 15 seconds. And then, of course, if you go to the Corsair, it's got basically the opposite going for it as well. So you can see right here, on crit, it'll increase your headshot pistol damage. So the idea with these weapons is just switching back and forth between the sword and the pistol there. With the shotgun, you could do something very similar. Now, I don't really know what melee you'd want to pair with this. There are a lot of options in the game. One of my favorites is basically the Whiteout Fiona loadout. This is exactly the same thing I said in my pistol video. Those of you who already watched that are definitely seeing the similarities, but these weapons are built extremely similar. They have the exact same perk options, so I'm going to say the same thing. Whiteout Fiona, super strong build. You got her in the lead with the crit rating, then you run the Stormblade with double attack speed and crit explosions, super strong, totally rocking out to crit all the time. And if you have this build with maybe like a shotgun support perk, you could eliminate a Mist monster with a shotgun, get a nice quick clean kill, then switch to your melee with that 25% bonus attack speed and just shred stuff after that. Especially if you've got Whiteout Fiona in support or even the lead, you could run this with like the Storm King's Ravager, maybe a Spectral Blade, something really strong. You could have a really decent time with that and actually do some serious damage. So I haven't personally tried that as of recording this. Maybe me or my editor can get gameplay for this video. Even if we don't have gameplay for you, it's still an interesting build that might just work out. And I kind of like that. You know, this is, as I mentioned, not the strongest shotgun in the game. There are some real heavy hitters when it comes to shotguns in Fortnite Save the World, but pairing it with a melee, kind of an interesting way to go, especially considering that you're already close range. So pairing a shotgun and a melee makes a lot of sense because you're already right up there in the action, and it could actually be a really fun time. But as of just standard perks, I really can't suggest these unless you're doing some sort of hybrid build. So that's the Primal shotgun. If you guys want to see the rest of the Primal weapons, I'll be releasing videos on these as they come out. Check out the pistol video down below. I'll see you guys. Subscribe if you made it this far. I enjoy your support. You know, if you guys want to come hang out on stream, Twitch link down below. See you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then